Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the sixth episode in our podcast series, Jock of all trades. Vishnu, Muthu, Kushal, and Saurav here, ready to bring you guys our take on sports. Obviously, right now in sports, we've got the NBA Finals beginning on Wednesday. It's Monday when we're recording this, and then also in the NFL, we're heading into week 4 of the regular season. So a lot of sports are underway. We also have baseball. You also have baseball heading into the playoffs. So sports are really starting to heat up after sort of a down period during the last 6 months with COVID and everything. But yeah, we're excited to be here and just talk about sports. And yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, let's go to the NBA Finals where the Warriors. Oh, wait a minute. The Warriors. What happened to them, Kushal?
Hey, there's no need to rub it in my face. I think it's pretty understandable considering how the Warriors had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson both injured, and since those are like our two leading scorers and best players on our team, it's rather understandable why they didn't make the playoffs. But I think regardless of that, I think just depending on moves which we make during this offseason, hopefully we do acquire Giannis. But I think even if we don't, we'll still be set for next year to return as title contenders with Andrew Wiggins, Klay, and Steph. So we're set.
All right, that's fair. Okay, so now on to the teams that are actually in the finals. The Miami Heat will be playing the Los Angeles Lakers starting Wednesday. So what are our thoughts?
Just a quick segment here. Just wanted to inform everyone before the haters in the comment section show up that my background is Luka. I know it's not the Warriors. Kushal has a Warriors background. Luka is showing out right now, and I'm excited to see him play. And it's okay to have a second favorite team. It's not like I'm a bandwagon or anything. So the haters in the comment section can leave now.
Is that cough for me? Are you coughing at me, Kushal?
No, I was coughing at Saurav.
Oh, okay.
Patriots fan turned Bucks fan, maybe.
No. Patriots fan, and we're still playing well without Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's playing well without us. So I'm thinking hot take: Patriots versus Bucks Super Bowl.
All right, I think like the consensus around the league right now is that the Lakers are going to win. They have LeBron, AD. They're like coming in. They're the better team. But I think we should be careful to not count the Miami Heat out. We saw what they did against the Bucks. The Bucks were the sort of AFC, it's the NBA. They were the Eastern Conference, were the favorites coming in, and the Heat just shut them down. I think the thing with the Heat is they have so many quality players sort of across the board. I think one of the players in a press conference after they won yesterday against the Celtics in Game 6 said that they could have a different leading scorers every single game, and I think that just goes to show like how many pieces they have and sort of how versatile other players are. So I just say the Lakers are the favorites coming in, and I'd probably pick them, but we shouldn't count the Heat out just yet.
All right, so I'm taking Heat in 7.
Okay, I definitely agree with both of you in that the Heat should not be discounted. I think Jimmy Butler put it best, but I think what he said was that the Heat always expected to be where they are right now, and that they knew like what kind of team they had on their hands. I think that's just really important, but I still have to agree with Vishnu that the Heat are going to lose against the Lakers. I think just everything going for the Lakers right now. I feel like this entire playoff run is for Kobe, and I think that's just one extra motivation to like kind of push them to across the finish line. And I think that just overall, I think going back to what you said about Bam versus AD, I think that's definitely going to be an X factor matchup. Bam has some excellent defense, and I think throughout the playoffs, AD has consistently gone up against bigger but also slower centers. I think that Bam just has that perfect combo between speed, agility, and length. And I think that's just going to be a tough matchup for AD to fight against.
Another player is Jimmy Butler, and he's been averaging like high 10s, low 20s recently. If the Heat get into trouble with the Lakers, I think Jimmy Butler's going to really have to step it up if the Heat want to go to a Game 7 or win the series.
So I have a question for you guys. Do you think, depending on if the Lakers win or not, so then that would mean if they win, LeBron goes to 4-6 in the finals, or if he loses, then he goes to 3-7. Do you think that's like make or break in like the greatest of all NBA players? Do you think that changes where he's standing in that list?
It's like
I think that it isn't so much about the finals records that the two players have. I think it's more of who they played against. So I think that if LeBron James loses against the Miami Heat, which I think everyone can agree that isn't like the greatest team of all time, then it would definitely be like a blemish on his record, and then I'd consider MJ to be a better player. But if he does win against Miami Heat, it's just an extra championship that LeBron wins, and I think that it does kind of it goes to his credit in that it kind of like allows him to be still in the competition for number one all time.
I think one thing that's just incredible about LeBron, sort of regardless of the outcome of this, is like for the past decade, like 2010 through 2020, I think LeBron made 9 out of 10 finals, except for his first year with the Lakers. And like 3 of those years, or 4, he went against arguably the best team of all time in the Warriors. And one of those years, he came down 3-1 to beat them. But the other 3 years, like you can't really like fault him for losing against KD, Steph, and Clay when he was on sort of an average Cavs team. Average in that like the players around him were average, not him.
Oh no, that team was not average by any means. That team was actually horrible. I'm just gonna give it to real here to fans teams. That 2017 to 2018 team, LeBron just lifted you guys. He just dragged the rest of the
He
players
literally
across the
carried
finish
his team
line.
throughout the
Yeah, I
playoffs.
don't think it was even carry. He just like they were all like limping, and he was just dragging them down to the finals. And I think that's what made him decide to leave. He was averaging like 30 a game sometimes. He was just putting the team on his back, and then you had Tristan Thompson as your second scorer.
For the last 2 podcasts, the NBA bubble has been the main focus. And with the NBA bubble, one big feature that we see is that no fans are allowed. Obviously, you have the virtual fans. Obviously, you have the virtual fans, but there's like the fans aren't there physically. All right, so that sort of brings up the question, what sort of impact would you guys say home court advantage and the presence of fans have on the sort of success of players and just teams overall?
Okay, so I think that we should break this down into kind of like 2 different levels. First, we have the professional leagues, in which I think home court advantage plays a massive role in the success of a team. I think specifically there's 2 smaller effects. The first of which is during like the away team's offense. It's the crowds can get so loud, and I think this is especially true at the Seahawks stadium where the fans just like holler and cheer so loudly that the opposing team just cannot like understand the plays that are being called.
Yeah.
Which obviously leads to confusion later on in the ensuing plays. And I think the second impact that home court advantage plays is just like knowing which parts of either the court or the field are best or I guess slightly worse. I think this is especially true for the MetLife Stadium and that controversy surrounding 49ers and the MetLife Stadium just this past weekend and the weekend before that. And I think on the other hand, we have like high school home court advantages, which I definitely don't think plays as big of a role in a team's success. Considering how like I just don't see how high schoolers can cheer so loudly.
All right, I'm gonna have to disagree with Kushal right here. Okay, basically, like he said, it comes down to field and it comes down to fans. And in high school, I think most fields are turf or really nice grass, so the field isn't as big of a deal. But the fans, in most like regular season games, there aren't as many fans. But when there are, you can tell the difference. Like for our CCS games or our NorCal games, when the fans like rush the field at the end, or when they were cheering really loudly whenever like I don't know, we won a call or we scored or something like that, like you can tell the difference, and that definitely played a big factor. So adding on to the field aspect, in the NFL there are different fields and they have different feels to them, and I think MetLife Stadium is considered to be like one of the scariest fields to play on because of this giant turf monster or something. But that was like crazy because the 49ers played against the Jets and the Giants both at MetLife, I believe, and their whole team pretty much died. Okay, they didn't die, but like their whole team got injured. You had Garoppolo, Kittle, Mostert, Coleman, Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Jarek McKinnon. That's like their whole offense, key players in their defense, all of them got injured. They still won, but like that's crazy that like one field can do that much damage.
That's right. You better put some respect on my team. Even with half our starters gone and
Okay,
out for like maybe like the majority of the season, we still won. We blew up both teams. Okay, you can't even argue with that. We are the greatest team of all time. You cannot argue with that.
It was the Giants and it was the Jets argument. What a
Yeah. Okay. All right. But okay. The other thing is, that also might have to do with the lack of a preseason because of COVID. The NFL cut out all preseason games, so that there's not like that, I guess, uncompetitive field that can get you back into the game. So they went straight from off season to high speed, passionate games, and so that might be an addition to why there are so many injuries in this league over the past few weeks. Saquon is out with an ACL tear for the whole season. Von Miller and a bunch of other great players. Yeah. Okay. And adding on to field at the high school or at the school level. Now, normally it doesn't make a difference because in high school you have like very nice grass or turf fields, but in middle school, now when you're playing on a field with holes and goose poop, that's a problem. You do not want to play on those types of fields. Okay. All right, guys. So basically, we recorded yesterday, and we were talking about home field advantage and what that does to Harker athletes' play. And so, you know, we're kind of experienced, but are we really that good at sports? So I thought we'd bring in someone who's a little bit more experienced, a little bit better at sports. So we brought in Pranav Varmaraja, a junior on the Harker football team, plays wide receiver and defensive back. Pranav, would you like to say hi to our audience?
Hey guys, I'm Pranav. I play safety primarily on the football team. It's a little bit of rough time right now. We don't know what's going to happen with the next season, but I guess we'll see.
All right. And so, what are your thoughts on basically home field advantage and like how that affects sports both at the professional level and at the high school level? How like different fields affect athletes' play?
Well, I can get started with like us specifically.
Yeah.
I know we get a lot of people to come out to our games like normally like week 1, so our first game, and then homecoming is like obviously massive. They get extra stand sets and all that, and I think that really helps because we know that there are people supporting us when we're winning, but there are people supporting us and like hoping for us to do well, and it helps us get like the energy on the field is a lot better when we're at a home crowd. And I know like a lot of times we go travel to other schools, and you know their crowds are pretty crazy too, because a lot of these parents aren't really invested in the team, and they call out the refs, they like call out players for making bad plays. Like a dirty hit is gonna get a big hit is gonna get a big reaction from the crowd, and you know that's really important because you gotta make like a big play like that, because you like when you're playing on the field you like to get a big reaction like that. So and then I know like even at other high schools, like bigger high schools, like the Texas football scene is like really massive. Like they play at Cowboy Stadium, they fill it up. And I don't even know how that's possible at a high school level, but they like a lot of times they completely fill out the stands, and obviously that could be like also like, it could be nerve-wracking for a lot of people who haven't played at that level before, but it's a really good thing because like a lot of times like, for the home team, and a lot of people come out there and are supporting them. And obviously the same goes for professional level. They get 60, 70,000, maybe even more than that, fans out there in the stadium, and you get really loud, and when you make a big play, it's nice.
Yeah, and looking forward, the season's probably not going to have any fans, or well, hopefully there is a season. So, what are your thoughts going into next season? How do you think that's going to go? And I guess, what are your takeaways from what you think it's going to look like?
So I've heard from a lot of like professionals who are playing right now that with the whole fanless experience, it feels almost like a practice, right, or like a scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, there's obviously less adrenaline, less blood coursing through your veins, but I think there's still a really similar level of competitiveness because you're almost like more involved like with the game, because you can hear everything, all the sounds of the field, or you can hear it all. Like you can hear the snap count, you can hear like somebody like speaking on the other side of the field. It's easier to communicate on the field, so it gives you like a level of clarity that's a little harder with a big crowd. But I think you're going to lose that sense of like acute support that you have a crowd there supporting you.
Well, that about wraps it up for this 6th episode in our podcast series, Jock of all trades. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and as always, if you have any feedback or comments or just thoughts on any of the topics we discussed, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.